Hi, everyone. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After, the podcast for caregivers who survived the hardest chapter of their lives and are now gathering both the courage and the strength to write the next one. I'm so grateful you've chosen to spend this time with me. When caregiving ends, people tell you the hardest part is over, that now you can finally relax, take care of you. But what people who have never been caregivers don't understand is that your brain doesn't simply shut off when your person dies. It's still wired for crisis, for alertness, for vigilance, for someone else's needs. You can tuck the blood pressure cuff into the cabinet, fold up the walker, turn off the cameras, but your brain, the one that's been on guard for years, is still waiting for the next emergency. You've trained it to survive, and now you're asking it to rest. That right there is one of the hardest rewires a human being will ever attempt. Because the body doesn't automatically trust peace. After years of adrenaline and sleepless nights, your nervous system equates stillness with danger. Quiet feels wrong. Calm feels foreign. You find yourself listening for footsteps that will never come, rehearsing rescue plans you'll never need again. Your brain learned to keep someone alive, and in that process, it forgot what it feels like to simply be. But what I have come to learn is that what the brain learned for survival, it can unlearn for peace with time and self-soothing and self-nurturing. So why is it so hard to let go after caregiving? It's not that you don't want to let go, and it's not that you don't know you need to. It has everything to do with how your brain was rewired during caregiving. During that time, your mind became a 24-hour command center, a system on constant standby. Every part of your brain was affected. The amygdala, responsible for detecting threat, grew more reactive. The hippocampus, which helps regulate emotion and memory, weakened under chronic stress. And the prefrontal cortex, the calm, logical part of your brain, often went offline because you were always prioritizing someone else's safety over your own peace. So even when the caregiving chapter ends, your brain doesn't automatically know that the danger has passed. It stays on high alert, ready for the next fall, the next phone call, the next emergency. That's why you might find yourself startled by small noises, waking at the same times you used to check on your loved one, or feeling guilty for doing something as simple as resting. It's not that you can't let go. It's that your brain hasn't yet learned how. Even your reward system changes during caregiving. Each act of care, a meal served, a wound dressed, a comfort given, used to release oxytocin and dopamine, the chemicals of love, purpose, and connection. When caregiving ends, that steady flow stops. Your brain literally misses the structure of love it once revolved around. So when people say, "You can finally relax now," they don't realize what that actually means. They're asking you to do something your brain hasn't practiced in years, to focus on yourself. So what exactly happens to a caregiver's brain after the storm has ended? Caregivers live for years in a state psychologists call hypervigilance, the brain's way of saying, stay ready. That constant readiness rewires neural circuits for threat detection, not joy detection. That's why peace can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Quiet feels wrong. Stillness feels suspicious. Your brain, once rewarded for responding to emergencies, is trying to recreate the world it understands, one filled with purpose, movement, and alertness. You may find yourself overscheduling, overhelping, or overthinking, not because you want stress, but because your brain recognizes stress as familiar, as comfortable. It's confusing, isn't it? You finally have space to breathe, yet breathing itself feels foreign. This is the paradox of the after. Your mind craves rest, but your biology resists it. But what the brain learned under pressure, it can unlearn in peace. This is the power of neuroplasticity, the brain's amazing ability to form new connections, to literally rewire itself for calm, safety, and joy. Every small act of self-care, a deep breath, a slow walk, a moment of laughter, is your brain learning something new. I'm not in danger anymore. It's safe to relax. It's okay to feel joy again. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't mean you forget the past. It means you're teaching your body a new rhythm, one that honors what you've lived, but no longer chains you to it. When we talk about starting over, most people imagine a massive transformation, a bold leap, a dramatic new chapter. But from a neurological standpoint, starting over is actually built on the smallest of steps, because your brain doesn't rewire through intensity. It rewires through repetition. Consistency, not pressure, is what teaches your nervous system that life can feel safe again. Here are some of the most powerful small steps to begin. The first one I call mindful mornings. The first few minutes after you wake up are prime time for rewiring. Instead of reaching for your phone or diving into your to-do list, take 3 slow, grounding breaths and say something simple but powerful. Like my favorite, it's not too late to begin again. The second, I call movement as medicine. You don't need marathons or heavy weights to change your brain. Even a 20-minute walk, stretching, or playing with your dogs can help. Physical movement tells your brain that life is continuing, and it releases tension your body may have carried for years. When you move, you're not just strengthening muscles. You're teaching your nervous system what peace feels like in motion. 3, journaling for release and integration. Writing is one of the most therapeutic tools for caregivers in the after. Studies by psychologist James Pennebaker show that expressive writing helps move emotional pain from the limbic system, the brain's emotional center, to the prefrontal cortex, where logic and meaning take shape. Set aside just 10 minutes a day to write freely, without editing or censoring yourself. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for honesty. Go ahead, Ask Alexa to set a 10-minute timer for you. This process helps your brain translate chaos into clarity and grief into growth. The fourth small step is the power of micro goals. After caregiving, big goals can feel overwhelming because your brain's dopamine system, the one that drives motivation, has been tied to caregiving tasks for so long. Now it needs new anchors. So start small. Make the bed. Take a walk. Water a plant. Each completed action triggers a release of dopamine, your brain's way of saying you're moving forward. Over time, these small victories build a new rhythm of purpose and self-trust. And finally, reconnecting with joy. Connection heals the brain. Laughter, I'm a big fan of laughter, and even affection and shared experiences release oxytocin, a powerful hormone that calms the stress response and rebuilds trust and safety. Joy doesn't erase loss. It coexists with it. Spend time with people who bring lightness, with your pets, or doing something creative that reawakens your spirit. You're not wasting time. You're rewiring your nervous system to believe you can experience joy again. So you don't have to force a brand new life. You simply need to practice small moments of calm until peace becomes familiar again. Every gentle choice, every walk, every laugh, every boundary you honor is your brain learning to trust the present. And that's the real work of starting over. Not forgetting the past, but teaching your body and mind that you are entitled to a new beginning. So let's talk about the psychology of habit rewiring. Most people think habits are about discipline, but they're not. They're about identity. Neuroscience shows that we act in alignment with who we believe we are. So if your mind still identifies as the caregiver, it will resist anything that feels indulgent, peaceful, or self-focused, because that identity was built around service, urgency, and sacrifice. That's why creating new habits in the after can feel uncomfortable. You're not just trying to start new routines. You're redefining who you are without the caregiving role. But your brain learns through repetition and self-permission. The same way it learned to respond to every alarm and every call for help. It can learn to respond to calm, joy, and self-nurturing. It begins with small acts of identity reprogramming. Try saying, I'm still a caregiver, but now I care for me. Every time you repeat that, you're laying down new neural wiring, teaching your brain that self-care is not selfish. It's survival. Over time, that new identity becomes automatic. As I've said in previous episodes, resilience isn't about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. It's not about returning to who you were. It's about becoming who you're meant to be after everything you've lived through. In neuroscience, resilience is the ability of the brain to recover from stress while remaining open to growth. It's not built by avoiding pain. It's built by processing it and choosing again. Choosing hope, choosing joy, choosing life. Researchers like Dr. Richard Davidson describe resilience as a kind of emotional flexibility. The more we practice calming the mind, the faster we recover from adversity. When you go for a walk, instead of shutting down, when you take a deep breath, instead of reacting, when you allow yourself to cry and then reach for gratitude, that's resilience at work. You're training your brain to move through pain without losing faith in what's possible. You are not broken. You're rewiring. You are not behind. You're rebuilding. You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from wisdom. Every choice, every act of care toward yourself, every time you choose to see beauty again, that's your brain, your heart, and your spirit learning to live in the after. So tonight, as you rest your head, remind yourself, I've already done the hardest part. Now I'm learning peace again. And that peace, that quiet, hard-won peace, is the new rhythm of your resilience. If this episode spoke to your heart, please share it with someone. You can listen to more episodes of New York Girl Again, The After, on your favorite podcast platform, or visit newyorkgirlagain.com to join our growing community of caregivers learning to rise in the after. Until next time, please remember, you are not alone.